Hi, thank you for joining us on day one of the 12 Days of Turner. It was October 31st. So based on it being October 31st, he was put in prison and given a trial, and they hung him on November 11th. And so that's the 12 Days of Turner that kind of gave birth to the title of all of this. But essentially the goal is to be able to lift up the Nat Turner insurrection and have people examine it from all directions, because we know that he is considered by many to be a madman, and to others he was a prophet,
Right.
an agent of survival, and somewhere the truth lies between those two, and we wanted to be able to share that. So today you're listening to the 12 Days of Turner for the next 12 days, with an opportunity to participate if you should desire to. We want you to let us know what you think about the Nat Turner insurrection.
I'm proud. We did this, killed this, not I'm a murderer, I'm a killer, right?
Oh, well, yeah, well, of course.
You understand what I'm saying? And I don't
Of course,
necessarily shoot this to
I'm
you.
just having a little bit of trouble believing that also he would have thought, just because he's a man of God, that he would have thought, okay, God wants me to do this. That's something that is a little bit, crass, because the last thing that I feel that God wants is for you to commit a sin that he said is a sin.
Well, is it a sin that you're killing the slave-holding class in the Old Testament world?
Well, yeah, but see, that's the point. Gray is talking, that's what the hypocrisy of Gray was. You're talking about a sin that you're also committing too.
Mm-hmm.
But then he was trying to paint Turner as this type of person when he was committing the same sin. But the issue that I'm having is that, people say God told me to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Because as he said, I don't tell you to kill people. That's not my mission. That's not what I was brought here for.
The Old Testament God does tell people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I let me read the insert. I don't know who says this. I'm going to say this now. I will not shock the feelings of humanity, nor wound afresh the bosoms of the disconsolate sufferers in this unparalleled and inhumane massacre by detailing the deeds of their fiend-like barbarian. There were 2 or 3 who were in the power of these wretches, had they known it, and who escaped in the most provincial manner. Had they known it, and who escaped in such a provincial manner. There were 2 whom they thought they left dead on the field at Mr. Parker's, but who were only stunned by the blows of their guns, as they did not take the time to reload when they discharged on them. The escape of a little girl who went to school at Mr. Waller's, and where the children were collecting for that purpose, excited general sympathy. As their teacher had not arrived, they were at play in the yard, and seeing the Negroes approach, she ran up on the dirt chimney, such as are common to log houses, dirt chimneys, and remained there unnoticed during the massacre of the 11 that were killed at this place. She remained on her hiding place till just before the arrival of a party who were in pursuit of the murderers, when she came down and fled to a swamp where a mere child as she was, with the horrors of the late scene before her, she lay concealed until the next day, when seeing a party go up to the house, she came up, and on being asked how she escaped, replied with the utmost simplicity, "The Lord helped her." She was taken up behind a gentleman of the party and returned to the arms of her weeping mother. Miss Whitehead concealed herself between the bed and the mat that supported it, while they murdered her sister in the same room, without
So that would be
discovering her.
Thomas Gray talking at that
Talking
point?
about what happened on the insurrection with a young white child is what it seems like to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So let me just put this into the mix. Every story got 2 sides, and then there's like a truth, right?
Right.
So if his truth, if his side is God told me this is, I've witnessed this for 10 years of my adult life. I've prayed to my God. I've read my word, right? And now, after signs and wonders and years of becoming this man, I've baptized the white man, right? So my relationship with Most High should not be questioned. And in theory, his actions should be questioned, right? Because we can't test his heart, right? We can't question his heart. He baptized a white man, right?
So that's supposed to give him credit?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that he's always.
Do, because if I don't do it, you know, we will never get to a place where I want to be. But the key part in that is that this was all his thinking. I don't feel like it had anything to do with God in particular. This was something that he wanted, him.
But he was seeing signs from God.
Right.
He felt that he was being
If there
guided by God.
is any truth at all in Gray's narrative, then he believed he was taking orders from God, and God wanted him to go Old Testament.
Right.
There
But
are.
if we want to play out that scenario, that scene, then why do we sit there and punish others who say the same thing? We had a man just in Texas say that the reason that he ran up into a pizza place
God told him to.
because God told him to.
But this is what sets Nat Turner, you
Which
know,
is what you
above
about to say is what I was trying to say.
the
Go for
whole, the regulars, you
Right.
know, he was extraordinary in terms of his path. I mean, so
Right.
I don't negate, I believe in his path was
Right.
righteous from the beginning.
Right.
Something at the age of 4, he was able to read.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so he's been anointed in some way.
Right.
He was able to talk about things that happened
Which is
before he
why
was
when
born.
you say it, does baptizing a white man give him that accreditation? Yes. To put your hands
It's on the
on
list
a white
of
man
things.
in water, in 18, whatever it was, amongst witnesses who are believers, yes. Who's to say he ain't the absolute first black
The-
man
the
to touch a
Catholics-
white man in the water ever in the
To
history
become a
of
saint
recorded history?
in Catholicism, you have to go through the checklist, you know, in terms of
That
being
makes
able to
sense.
be declared a saint.
You could be
And
the
I
first.
think if that were the case in Christianity for it,
Right.
Nat
Saint
Turner
Nat Turner,
had a
right.
checklist that would to be
Right.
checked off, and he would qualify, you know, as, I mean, they called him a prophet, you know, and.
He had his hands on a white man in the water with
So,
witnesses.
Jamil, you're questioning
As
whether or
simple as
not
that may sound.
Well,
he should be allowed to be considered a hero or a madman.
I'm questioning whether or not he should be, we should go off the opinions of a person or a man. It's just like, okay, put it like this. It's just like this. I can sit here and I can run into a burning building and save 5 or 10 kids. And when I come out of that burning building and I save 5 of them 10 kids, to the world, it may seem like, okay, I'm that hero. He's a hero by the standards of him saving 5 or 10 kids.
Okay.
But to me, it's a completely different thing. I'm not. As a matter of fact, Greg, I say it on my walk. When I do Billy Floyd, I say it all the time. You say I was a hero. I just call myself
a patriot.
a patriot. And the reason that I say that is because of those are the words of other people and the way that they think. But I don't feel like that's the way of, you know, how.
So you saying
My
Nat Turner
character.
did not feel that he was a hero?
I don't think, well, no, I'm saying that if other people feel you are something, but that doesn't mean that he felt the same way.
Right. So he may not have felt that he was a hero.
He may not even felt that he was a prophet. That's what I'm saying.
I think he did think he was a prophet.
I think
because
there was
he
no
went
way
around
around it.
preaching
The
and
word,
spreading the
right,
word, you
right.
know, and
Until his death.
And again, the signs that he received. I mean, blood on corn, you know, that looked like dew or drops of blood on corn. The solar eclipse. Just, you know, there were a number of things. And when he ran away, escaped, and he was gone for about 30 days, about a month or so, and then he came back. And everyone was like, why would you come back, you know? And, you know, so I think that there's some extraordinary, you know, attributes to him that that lift him into that realm of, you know, prophet.
I think that all the evidence we have points to him believing he was a prophet.
No.
Of course, so did Charles Manson. So,
Ooh.
And I was about to say that too. I was about to say that too. He ain't the only one. So did Billy, the dude from the Killings. Billy, You know, everybody take the poison and die.
Jim
Jonestown.
Yeah, Johnstown. Yeah, he thought he was a prophet
But
too.
see, that's exactly to my point.
Which is what you.
You
Yeah, I
pretty much
hear you.
just made my point. Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
saying. That exactly to my point. Any person can believe or say that they are a prophet because of certain actions in their lives. Oh, I mean, you see it all the time, especially within churches. Okay, I did this, or yeah, I talked to this, or yeah, I did this, or oh yeah, I did that.
Well,
And
those are false prophets.
We're dealing with here, basically, at least 4 perspectives on Nat Turner. There's how he viewed himself.
And there's how other people-
there's how
Right.
other African Americans viewed him at the time. There's how white Americans viewed him at the time.
Right.
And there's how we view him looking at him from the distance of several generations.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I had a friend that asked me, would you have joined the rebellion, you know? And when I said I didn't know, she got upset with me because she wanted me to say emphatically, no, that, you know, that's not, violence is not the answer. You know, and maybe in the 21st century that's a viable option, but, you know, back then it would have been like, you know, are you with us or you're not, you know?
Well, where I can contest to that, because I do believe that back then it was dog eat dog.
Okay.
I really do. And that's
Okay.
something I do believe. You know, I really do believe back then either you was with us or you was against us.
Right.
And during that time and period, it was pretty much like that. You know,
Right.
if you want to know the truth,
Right.
oh, are you going over here or
Right.
are you going over here?
Right.
And even then, you know, I feel like even some blacks probably went to the other side because they thought they had a better chance of surviving than they did if they rebelled.
Previous uprisings in Virginia. The first big one was Bacon's Rebellion in 1676.
Right.
And that was poor whites and blacks together against the white ruling class.
Right.
yeah, but you forgot also how that ended.
Oh yeah, the ruling class won.
Right.
But still, I mean, still.
But
Yeah, but see, but is that?
But
see-
it scared the expletive to lead it out of the ruling
Right,
class.
right.
And so they spent the next, actually, even now, I should say the next 350 years, because they're still doing it.
Right,
Ever
it's
since
socially
then,
linked.
the upper
That's
classes
noticed.
worked as hard as it can
They
to
just keep
put
it separate.
blacks and poor whites
Right.
on opposite sides.
Hispanic,
And they were
minorities,
also
all of that.
oppressing Indians. I mean, that was the whole point
They
of
were
what the Bacon's
us
Rebellion
in
was all
theory,
about.
right.
Actually, to make it even more complicated, the blacks and the pluralites wanted to take more land from the Indians, and the white aristocracy wanted to leave the Indians what they already had, because they were saying, look, we've already got our big plantations in the
Exactly,
east,
exactly.
and we want to trade with the Indians to make even more money. We don't care if you poor guys out west get more land so you can have plantations of your own. We're fine with you having small farms or no farms and letting the Indians keep the land. So
I mean, it's still going on
always
in terms
complicated.
of how the upper class, the ruling class is able to manipulate the other 90%, because they you know, basically give you just kind of, but that's the whole thing about the Constitution is about, you know, we can all have this, and that's not the case. It's not the case at all. But they've set it up so that's the romanticized view of the Constitution is that I can, if I work hard and play by the rules, I can also achieve this, and that's just not it.
And
Well-
that's the whole point. See, she just said one key factor: play by the rules, and that's
Which
the
they
whole-
can constantly kind of like massage to
And-
make
Right,
it work for them.
especially
There are
because-
always a tiny minority who do cross that divide. Andrew Jackson was born effectively homeless. His parents were Cato Kalining on the couch in their relatives' houses on the Carolina frontier. They didn't have their own place when he was born. And he, through a combination of talent and luck and the right circumstances, moved to the right place at the right time and got filthy rich himself and ended up with this magnificent plantation and beautiful mansion. Now, and he ended up president of the United States. Now, 299,999,999 out of 300 million of us are not going to do that. But since there's the one guy who does, they can always say, hey, it's possible.
And that means it's possible, so
Yeah,
there you go.
And it is possible, it's just really, really, really improbable.
hard to get to that point.
But that's always been the message. I think it was Sinclair Lewis who said, there are no poor people in America as far as they're concerned, they're just temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
People believe that now.
Yeah.
I like that better.
They believe it.
And yeah, there are these handful of paths to wealth and power. There's always going to be somebody who invents the Apple computer in his garage, or who can hit a curveball 450 feet and become a baseball player who makes $10 million a year, or who sings like an angel and writes beautiful songs and becomes the next Beyonce. But there are only a tiny handful of them.
But the only issue that I have is that when you're a person of color, it always seems to be subsidized rather than appreciated. And the reason I say this is because of, if you want to get ahead and if you're a person of color, we want you black, but we don't want you too black. Or we want you this way, but we don't want you that way. So it seems like it's always got to be subsidized or categorized in some sort of way.
Yeah,
Why can't it just be, we take it just like when you go for a job interview, a person named Letitia Jenkins won't probably have a good shot than a person named Rebecca Thompson. And it's because they think, oh, Lakeisha, ghetto, trash, she's not qualified enough. Rebecca, oh, wholesome, nice name. And so and that's what gets me. It's still that way today, and that's what I have an issue with. It just seems like that when we're talking about black progression, it seems like it always has to be subsidized in some way.
And if you go back, it's not true for people. Well, I should say it's not very true for people with ethnic Jewish names now. If you're Jewish, you are conditionally white. Sometimes they consider you white, and sometimes they consider you just as much an Untermensch as anyone from Nigeria or Afghanistan or any other place that's othered. We Jews constantly get pushed in and out of the privileged elites and never know which way the wind is going to blow this week. It's and whether that's a better problem to have or a worse problem to have than people who are consistently out but at least know where they stand is a matter of endless debate. But
That actually makes me think about, I have a friend, a colleague who really is frustrated by the fact that the whole Muslim presence in this country is never talked about. We talk about Jews, but we only talk about black folks, and we look at them as being Christians. And the whole influence of Islam in America has been totally ignored. And here we are now, we have an administration that has Muslim bans, and people don't have a clue about what the history is in terms of getting to that point.
yeah, and the influence of Islamic Americans is increasing. Keith Ellison was elected to Congress a few years ago. And what I thought was really interesting about that was, as a black Muslim, he won a heavily white and Jewish district in Minnesota. So there are people who can see past those categories and judge you based on what you do, not your demographic group.
Yeah, I think one of the issues, though, is that the way that things get reported, it's either extremist right or extremist left, as opposed to being kind of moderate and just kind of fair to all sides there. And we just kind of are losing that perspective, I think, on every issue. Everything is so polarized that it's hard to get to any kind of real truth about any of this. And people are coming from such a defensive, posture here that.
That is defensive with anything. You can have a great idea, but if some people don't like a certain way or a certain matter that it's way, they forget the whole thing. It's just like Black Lives Matter. We did Black Lives Matter, but when a lot of black folks found out that it was started by two lesbians, oh no, I didn't want to be a part of it.
Really? Is that?
That is true.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. See, they're forgetting all about the black part
because now they only thinking about the sexuality part. And I'm like, how does that really work? And so it's
It's intersectionality. There are, it's not a two-dimensional line where you're privileged or you're not. It's this multi-dimensional lattice where you're privileged in some ways and unprivileged in others. There is white privilege, there is wealth privilege, there is male privilege, there is straight privilege, there is cisgender privilege, there's Christian privilege, there's native
Somebody
born
wins in
privilege.
every way in some
And
situation.
most of us have some of these privileges, but not all of them.
Right.
And not all of these privileges are equally beneficial in our society.
You know, I mean, black women are vilified for our hair growing out of our skull, out of our head. I mean, who else has to deal with that, you know? Why, when did it become a crime to have your hair coming out of your head, your head there, you know? And yet it is. It's been criminalized to the point that we have to go to court to get permission to have our hair on our head. That's not
You
right.
didn't have a certain
You know,
style.
Whatever.
There's a horror movie about that coming out.
Yes, I heard about that,
Sounds,
yeah.
Bad hair. It sounds pretty.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it got a rough review from some folks that I respect, but I do want to see it because the question I asked again: why is it a crime for my hair to come out of my head, out of my scalp?
It was a huge deal in the mid '60s. I think 1966, when a black woman with natural hair beat out women with processed hair in a beauty contest.
Right.
Was that at Howard University? It's been a long time since I've seen the documentary that talked about it.
Yeah, I don't. Howard would be a good guess in my mind, but I don't know where that was. But I know as recently as like last year, there were lawsuits where black women were claiming victory because they were now allowed to have their hair natural.